Picture a caveman's day, and you probably imagine a spear, a mammoth, and a desperate chase across the plains. That image is everywhere. It's in movies, textbooks, cartoons, and it's almost completely wrong. The real daily schedule of early humans looks less like an action film and more like something you'd barely notice if you saw it happen next door. Anthropologists studying surviving hunter gatherer societies have found something that upends the whole mammoth chasing myth. Researcher James Suzman spent years studying the Juhuanzi people of the Kalahari, one of the last groups to live a traditional hunting and gathering lifestyle well into the modern era. His findings were almost embarrassing for the caveman stereotype. Adults in these communities worked roughly 15 hours a week to meet their basic needs. 15. Not 50, not 80, 15. Think about that for a second. Somewhere between prehistory and today, humans invented the 8-hour workday and somehow ended up working more than their ancestors who had no machines, no electricity, and no supermarkets at all. So what filled the rest of the time? Mostly nothing dramatic, rest, conversation, storytelling, childcare shared across the group. Long stretches of what anthropologists now call unstructured social time. Hours spent simply sitting together, talking, resting, doing very little of consequence. Suzman's research suggests this wasn't laziness, it was efficiency. When your environment reliably provides what you need, there's no reason to labor beyond that point. A typical morning might start slowly. No alarm clock, no rush. People woke with the light, ate something from the day before, or gathered a quick bite nearby, and only then decided what needed doing. Foraging, when it happened, wasn't a desperate search. Anthropologist Marshall Solins, in his influential work on hunter-gatherer economies, described these societies as, in his words, the original affluent society. Not because people had more possessions, but because their wants were so easily met that scarcity barely existed as a concept. Here's the twist. We tend to associate affluence with accumulation. More stuff, more hours worked, more wealth stored up. But Solins argued the opposite. A society is affluent not when it has everything it could want, but when it wants very little beyond what it already has. By that definition, many hunter-gatherer societies were wealthier than we are. Midday often meant a break from activity altogether. Heat, especially in warmer climates, made the middle hours a natural pause. People rested in shade, groomed each other, told stories, or simply did nothing at all. Doing nothing wasn't a failure of productivity. It was the point. Afternoons might include some gathering, tool repair, or teaching children a skill through direct observation rather than formal instruction. Children learned by watching adults, participating in small ways and gradually taking on responsibility, not through structured lessons, but through simply being present in daily life. And evenings were, by many accounts, the richest part of the day. Around the fire, stories were told, some practical, some pure entertainment, some carrying moral lessons passed down for generations. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied campfire conversations among the Ju/Huanzi and found that daytime talk tended to focus on complaints, gossip, and logistics, while nighttime talk around the fire shifted dramatically toward storytelling, myth, and imagination. The firelight itself seemed to change what people talked about. So the caveman you picture, spear raised, sprinting after a woolly mammoth, existed for maybe a handful of hours a week, if that. The rest of the time, he was probably sitting exactly like you might be sitting right now, talking, resting, half listening to a story he'd already heard a dozen times before. We built an entire modern identity around the idea that our ancestors struggled constantly just to survive. In reality, many of them had something we now pay significant amounts of money to try to get back: time, rest, conversation with nowhere else to be. The caveman wasn't exhausted from the hunt. Most days, he probably wasn't hunting at all.